Samuel did what the Lord directed and went to Bethlehem. When the elders of the town met him, they trembled and asked, "Do you come in peace?" "In peace," he replied. "I've come to sacrifice to the Lord. Consecrate yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." Then he consecrated Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice. When they arrived, Samuel saw Eliab and said, "Certainly the Lord's anointed one is here before him." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or his stature, because I have rejected him. Man does not see what the Lord sees, for the man sees what's only visible, and the Lord sees the heart." Jesse called Abinadab, presented him to Samuel. "The Lord hasn't chose this one either," Samuel said. And then Jesse presented Shammah, and Samuel said, "The Lord hasn't chose this one either." I'm starting to see a theme here. After Jesse presented 7 of his sons to Samuel, Samuel told Jesse, "The Lord hasn't chosen any of these." Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" And everybody knows the story. Jesse says, "Well, they're still the youngest, but right now he's tending to the sheep." Samuel told Jesse, "Well, send for him. We won't even sit down and eat until he gets here." So Jesse sent for him. He had beautiful eyes and a healthy, handsome appearance. And then the Lord said, "Anoint him, for he is the one." So Samuel took the horn of oil and anointed in the presence of his brothers, and the Spirit of the Lord took control of David from that day forward. That's awesome. I want the Spirit of the Lord to take control of me from this day forward. Then Samuel set out and went to Ramah. Now here God's sharing with us how he evaluates someone. He lets Samuel really know exactly what he's looking at. When he tells Samuel, "Do not look at his appearance or his stature, because I have rejected him. Man does not see what the Lord sees. Man sees only what's visible, but the Lord sees the heart." In fact, when God is rejecting Saul a couple of chapters earlier, in chapter 13, he says about David, he says, "And Samuel said to Saul, 'You have done foolishly. You have not kept the command of the Lord your God, for which he commanded you. For then the Lord would have established your kingdom over Israel forever, but now your kingdom shall not continue. The Lord has sought a man after his own heart, and the Lord has commanded him to be prince over his people, because you have not kept what the Lord had commanded you.'" So what was present in Simon, Andrew, James, John, and now David that cries out to God? I mean, a man after his own heart, that's a big deal. As it has also been translated in some of the versions, a man loyal to God. I prefer a man after his own heart. I see, because I believe God's searching for a loyal people, a people who chase after the very heart of God. Loyalty is an intentional thing. You have to make a decision to be loyal. The Lord is looking for a loyal people. And that directed me a little bit earlier in Samuel to chapter 3. So I'm kind of going backwards in the story here, but I hope you'll follow with me, because I think that's the way the Lord directed it. This talks about the boy Samuel, as he's called. And it's Samuel chapter 3, verse 1. 1 Samuel chapter 3, verse 1. "The boy Samuel served the Lord in Eli's presence. In those days, the word of the Lord was rare, and prophetic visions were not widespread. And one day Eli, whose eyesight was failing, was lying in his room before the lamp of God had gone out. Samuel was lying down in the tabernacle of the Lord, where the ark of God was located. And then the Lord called Samuel, and he answered, 'Here I am.' He ran to Eli and said, 'Here I am. You called me?' 'I didn't call,' Eli said. 'Go and lie down.' So he went and laid down, and once again the Lord called, 'Samuel.' Samuel got up, went to Eli and said, 'Here I am. You called me?' 'I didn't call you, my son,' he replied. 'Now go and lie down.' Now Samuel had not yet experienced the Lord, because the word of the Lord had not been yet revealed to him. But once again, for the third time, the Lord called Samuel. He got up, went to Eli, and said, 'Here I am. You called me?' By this time, both of them are thinking the other one's probably playing some sort of practical joke on them or something. But he says, 'You called me?' And Eli understood at that point that the Lord was calling the boy. And he told Samuel, 'Now go and lie down, and if he calls you again, say, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." So Samuel went and laid down in his place, and the Lord came and stood there and called as before, 'Samuel, Samuel.' Samuel responded, 'Speak, for your servant is listening.' The Lord said to Samuel, 'I am about to do something in Israel that everyone who hears about it will shudder. Wow. I want him to do something in San Angelo that everybody who hears about it will shudder. But God called Samuel. He had a determined and willing heart. Though it wasn't the first time he realized, and it wasn't the second time. The third time he didn't go, oh man, that old man's losing his mind, I'm not going to reply. No, he still got up. He was determined to go find out what it was. So he had a determined and willing heart. God called Peter, Andrew, James, and John. They were fishermen. They knew hard work, long hours. They had determined and willing hearts. God called David, who defended the sheep under his care against bears and lions. David had a determined and willing heart. One more quote. Where the heart is willing, it'll find 1,000 ways. Where it is unwilling, it'll find 1,000 excuses. Arlen Price. I want to read that one more time. Where the heart is willing, it'll find 1,000 ways. Where it is unwilling, it'll find 1,000 excuses. God's not looking for excuses. He's looking for determined and willing hearts. He's looking for people who know that with the Lord, they have nothing to fear. Not lions or bears or Philistines. People who know with the Lord, they don't have to fear persecution, whether it comes by the way of church leadership or an evil emperor or even a king that God rejected. God's looking for willing hearts. I don't know about you, but I want to respond, here I am like Samuel. And again, I want the Lord to trust me with a word like he trusted Samuel with when he said, I'm going to do something that Israel is going to shudder when they see it. I want to bring forth that word. The world needs to shudder and tremble in the hands of a loving God. It says in James, you say you believe in God, well, that's good. I mean, even the demons do that, and they shudder. Sometimes we don't even shudder. But God's looking for willing hearts to become his hands and feet to a world that's dying. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another. And yet one more quote, I'm going to squeeze it in. Show me the man you honor, and I'll know the kind of man you are. Thomas Carlyle. Again, show me the man you honor, and I will know what kind of man you are. God's looking for a people humble enough to realize there are things that others can teach them, believe it or not. No matter how much you know already, God's looking for a teachable spirit in whoever it is.